This episode is brought to you by Generate Solutions, your go-to AI experts specializing in empowering commercial real estate companies and environmental consulting firms. As AI is quickly transforming industries and enhancing efficiency, it is important you don't let your business fall behind. At Generate Solutions, we streamline workflows and automate tasks by creating custom AI agents tailored specifically to your business needs. Interested in taking your operations to the next level with AI? Email mfiorante@generatesolutions.com or find us directly on LinkedIn by clicking the link in the bio. On to our episode.
Welcome to another edition of A Conversation with John Conenna. And today it brings me back to that road that I love, and it's that road of journalism, television, radio. And today we are with a lady that I've kind of chased for about 6-7 months, hoping she'd come on, and she said yes to me, and we got it done. She's from WGN, Chicago's very own, my favorite station in Chicago, and I'm not trying to get brownie points from Akemi. But today we are with Akemi Harrison as the Director of News and Multiplatform Content, a lady that's had a lot of years of experience. We're going to go back and see how she started this, at one time also with NBC, and of course, now coming over to WGN. Akemi, what's going on with you, young lady? As I see you look great today for a Friday afternoon at noon.
I know. I'm so happy that we're already at 72 degrees. So by the time people are watching this in April, this is wonderful because it was just snowing not too long ago, right? So I'm so happy for some sun and summertime shy. So what's going on with me is happy for some good weather.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. And just to put the Debbie Downer on it here quickly, I heard tomorrow it's going to be in the, Demetrius said it's going to be in the 50s.
I know. That was a heat wave in January, right? It was so cold in January.
Oh my God.
But yeah, in a storm. So I will say, like, I'm so thankful that for the waves and the way like spring is, because I say April showers, right? We've had record, and this is something that my weather team told me about when I was leaving. He's like, did you see nowhere else? It has been the wettest spring ever. And we have those numbers because I love the fact that my weather team, they love weather literally. They talk about it all the time. So when you look at the forecasters on WGN Plus, that's literally them nerding out. Oh my gosh, did you see these numbers? Did you see this? And that's just them having fun. So anytime people want to have weather conversations, they got to check them out because they literally live what they talk about.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. You've been at this a while. When does this kind of thing that you do, does it start for you, the love? I got into broadcast journalism when I was in college, never did it full time, but of course now I've had this chance to do these podcasts. But how does it start for you? Meaning, did you have a love for this? Did you, when does it kick off for Akemi?
Oh gosh. All right, I tell this story and I tell people like don't laugh, but it's like so literal and so it happened, right? It's truth. And so when I was growing up in the 80s, right? Oprah is Oprah, right? She's oh my gosh, this huge presence.
She's the girl.
Yeah, so my mother was working at IBM in New York, at the height or as the growing height of Oprah. And so people would start to mistake her for Oprah. So she actually heard Oprah favorite back then. And so when I see this woman on TV as I'm, becoming like I'm watching TV and I'm looking and I'm like, oh, that woman she looks like me. And I'm seeing her telling these amazing stories. And she's just bringing these stories out of people. And she's just allowing them to talk, just much like you're doing now, allowing me to share that. So seeing that, I used to just enjoy the conversations. And I realized everyone has a story. And here I am thinking, you know what, I think I want to do that. And I had a knack for communicating well. And I ended up joining my high school newspaper, then my college newspaper. And I got an internship because I just knew I was like, I want to be on TV and I want to tell stories. And then I realized as I'm going through that, I learned about something called desensitization. And I said, well, I don't want to be desensitized. I still want to feel things. And to this day, I still feel for stories. I still have a heart. Because I said, if I ever got to the point where crime or tragic stories didn't impact me, I'd get out. Here I am still feeling my way through, right? So yeah, that's how I started. That's what drove my passion, storytelling. And then I realized I could help be a voice. So I said, I don't want to be on air. I want to be the person behind the scenes helping impact many stories because then I get to have my hands in everything. So that's where I got here. That's how I got here, I should say.
See, that was your switch. Like when we talk about Oprah, the great Oprah Winfrey, that
Yeah.
was that switch for you to, to get it going.
Yeah.
Are you a graduate of Tougaloo
Yeah.
College
Toulouse College.
yeah, and that's in Jackson, Mississippi, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. My mother went there. I have my great aunts, my aunts, just lots of family went there. And they didn't have a mass comm department. So I went for English and journalism. By the time I was leaving, may he rest in peace, Eric Stringfellow, he was a great journalist, worked for the Clarion Ledger in Jackson, Mississippi, and was just a force to be reckoned with. He was like, "You should stay and get your mass comm." And I said, "No, but I'm here to support," because I was like, "I want to go." And I ended up
Wow.
getting into TV after that. Yeah.
You did you did the radio side first of this, right? For
I did.
about 5 years, right?
Yep, I was on a gospel radio, and it would be
Okay.
so interesting because I got an opportunity from an internship. I got an internship in radio, and I started in radio, and I will always love radio. And it's funny because they said, the podcasts are just they're radio programs, right? Because it's conversation, it's audio. And so I was doing, gospel radio. I would MC events, and it would be so weird when people recognize my voice. I go to the bank and I do a transaction. They're like, "I recognize your voice." I'm like, "What?" And isn't it? It would be so because I think TV is visual and you'd recognize a face, but to recognize a voice was special. So that's how I started, and I loved it. I loved it.
Hey, did you sing too when we talk about gospel?
Oh gosh. So my radio station had a small ensemble, and so we would go and sing because I'm from the South, and so
Yeah.
many churches, and so yeah, so we would have a praise team, and so we would perform, and I just loved it. In fact, some of my colleagues from that group went on to like do a lot of gospel, circuits and ensembles, and I think there was a show called Sunday's Best on BET, and Dathan Thigpen was a part of my ensemble group, and now he's doing big things. So it ended up doing well for all of us.
From that, and of course, we talk about this progression.
Yeah.
From that, now, do you get noticed for the television when we talk about WAPT TV?
Yeah. So because I'm behind the scenes and I'm producing and you could kind of see where I realized like, oh, okay, well, I can actually start to have these conversations, and I'm starting to build my sources up within, Jackson, Mississippi. So I knew I had family, I'm from there, but then I'm starting to have relationships with police officers as sources, like where they're like, oh, me and the PIO are like close, I start to get kind of recognized in that, like, oh, you should know this person and that person. And so I ended up, that happened. I'm most recognized now, though. They gave me such a beautiful welcome here at WGN. And then I just opened up my social media pages because I'm like, I like to engage with people. So I said now it's kind of over the last few years, really, being recognized is not really, I became behind the scenes for a reason.
Right?
Having a somewhat of a popularity is different.
You know, when I was kind of doing the research on you over the 5, 6 months and just try to get some tidbits on you and everything, you look like this shy girl. But once I got talking to you here within 10 minutes, I can't judge the book by the
Yeah.
cover anymore because, you're pretty straightforward in what you did and what you want. And to have that confidence got you, I think, to the level of where you're at. What amazes me is, and I do want to get to the WGM part, but before we do that, um, what amazes me, you've, diversified. Were you when we talk about journalism, because we both took it, were you the better writer? Were you the better speaker? What was the forte of Akemi Harrison?
Gosh, I want to say like you've noticed like my personality. So I went to a print journalism conference in college, and I'm sitting down with an editor who's critiquing my clips that I provided him. And he's like, I'm sorry, I just have to write this down. You're so extroverted. I need you. You should probably go on the TV. And I said, really? I really like this print thing. He's like, I think you should go into TV. And then I get around like TV people. I was like, oh, okay. Yep, I get it. Like, because we can multitask. And I'm not saying print journalists don't, they do absolutely. But it was interesting to say, like, I had that kind of personality. And that's really what I think gets me when people see what I do. And then when I'm coaching reporters and I can actually say, look, let me show you what you should do. Let me speak to you a certain way. Even when I was presenting this week, we had an internal town hall. I know what keeps people engaged, and I can say, look, let's have these conversations. So I think what people understand about me is I'm down to earth. What you see is what you get. But I'm also warm, right? I can have conversations. I can meet you where you are, and I really think that's what gets people to say, oh, okay, okay, I like this.
Right.
Yeah.
From that onset, like say from the radio to the TV in Jackson and all that, did you ever think you'd be at the level where you're at now when we talk about a director of news? I mean,
Yeah,
did
in
you?
market three, right?
Right. Yeah, yeah. In market three, are we talking New York, LA, Chicago, or are we talking LA,
Mhm.
New York, Chicago, or
You
or
had it right the
Chicago?
first time. New
Yeah.
York, LA, and Chicago. Yeah, so
Right.
Chicago's market three, LA two, and New York one.
Right. And,
Wow. Go
and
ahead.
here's this little girl from
Yeah.
Jackson, Mississippi
Yep.
in a market three. I mean, yeah. Now you were at NBC for a while, not to kind of jump in, but you were at NBC for a while. How many
Yes.
years were you at NBC?
Total for the company 6 years. Honestly, just shy of my 6 year anniversary, but
That was with
more like
Telemundo
days.
Chicago too, right? NBC and
Yep.
Telemundo. Yes, yes.
DC and Telemundo. Absolutely loved the company. Still love the team. When I see them out, or engage with them on social, I still love my team because that's the other thing. No matter the teams I've worked with, I've always formed, really good relationships. But yeah, I was with the company for 6 years, here in Chicago, 4 years. Frank Whitaker, who was the VP of News there for a long time, he brought me here to Chicago, and yeah, so it was a great time there. And at one point then helping run both newsrooms, right, and NBC and Telemundo. And so it helped me have awareness when it came to the predominant audience for Telemundo. I now know how to pick up conversational Spanish or someone
Wow.
who was saying, oh, I'm bilingual and I'm listening. I'm like, you're not. Now, am I fully bilingual? Absolutely not. But can I pick it up now? And I've been able to engage more. And then I could also say, okay, well, tell me about your background. So when it came to, I'm serving a predominantly Mexican American audience, and they come from these two states in Mexico prominently. And then I'm looking at, okay, but we also have a big Puerto Rican, audience. And so it's
Sure.
like those types of things have it just really helped with my experience and also my empathy for diversity in, just when it comes to regionalization. So when it comes to where you're from and what you're looking for and the types of stories we're telling. So that experience was just beautiful. It was beautiful. Yeah.
You went on to Connecticut, Pittsburgh. So
Yep.
you really, I mean, because I think you were the producer at WPXI TV in
Mhm.
Pittsburgh. Yes.
Yep, night
Yeah.
side executive producer. So I went from working on the morning shows in the Bay Area and of California and Sacramento, and then I became night side in Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is one of the most competitive markets. Look, every place is competitive, but there will be days that my shows would be, well, I'm gonna brag a little bit. My shows remained number one while I was there, but it was tight some sweeps periods where I'm looking at WTAE or KDKA, and I'm like, oof, it was a little tight, but we kept it going when I was there, and it taught me a lot, like spot news and impact and what do people care about. It was a great market to work in.
When we talk about all these markets, and please always say I like when people say, "Hey, I did this and I did that."
Mhm.
I don't look at it as cocky or arrogant. I
Oh
look at
yeah.
it as rewarding. We should use that word more, rewarding. I think there's a difference between the two. Did you have to bring in at all these places? Did you have to bring in like an innovation? What does Akemi bring to the table? Were you always thinking of what you could do best for that station?
Yeah, what I've found, especially so over at WPXI, it was more so, and I realized that we under Cox Media Group, and I think now it's still Cox Media Group. they were very regimented when it came to the numbers, and everything was equated. And so I would take this research and I would take what we're doing, but I also like human approach. And so the pandemic really highlighted my soft skills. They call it soft skills. I just think it's just the fact that I could get down to empathy and like, all right, are we telling this story from the neighborhood's perspective? Are we this there because some crime happened? Okay, what's the context? And this is something that they would, talk about all the time within that company. But I carry that with me too because context and impact is key. We have so much happening here in Chicago. Okay, make me care about it because if I'm living in Schaumburg, I may not care what happened in downtown Chicago. But if you give me an emotional tie, if you tell me what it really was about and why I should care, then I'm going to care. So I really, that's what I believe when I came to PXI and looking at all the work that we're doing. It's like, okay, well, sometimes we got to tell this good story, or sometimes we need to tell this story that has more community relevance than it does crime or financial impact. Maybe this is just something that's really getting to people. So I think that that was something that I really brought, and some organization and validation for the people. I wanted to make sure my people felt seen. So this is lame, but I would bring in snacks or do a potluck or say, hey guys, I'll feed you. I loved that. And so I think that they enjoyed that too.
Oh, I can see that without a doubt. So, how does Akemi Harrison get to NBC from what we just talked about in this short synopsis of
Yeah.
Connecticut, Pittsburgh, the small state? When do you get a call? Are you writing? Are you looking? Are we, all day long just looking to see what market would you be good for? How do you get that first break?
Yeah, so I got to NBC first in Connecticut, but through mentorship, I tell everyone mentorship and sponsorship, and doing the work. It wasn't that I just said, hey, a big shout out to Anzia Williams, who got me into NBC and then, helped with my career when I got to that point from EP to then becoming an assistant news director. But I was like, it wasn't that he had to say, I got to dust you off and figure out how to position you. I basically called him and many other people. I have so many different mentors and like I said, sponsors who helped me. But I did the work. I showed them that I'm like, not only am I about my business and I'm competitive, but I also like to whistle while I work. So I'm pleasant to be around as much as I can be, right? And so then I get over to NBC Connecticut. And I get there in August of 2019. So you know what happened in March of 2020. And so leading in crisis and through such change and such dire straits or dire needs of a global pandemic, I think highlighted my skill set even more. Not only do I know what I'm doing, not only am I competitive, I also care about the people. At the end of the day, caring about people is what I do. And even though had to, have some rough conversations in my career, I still do it with dignity. And I still want to make sure
Very
that the
nice.
person knows who they are. And sometimes it's a business needs, or sometimes I'm like, hey, I tried to get you here, but I couldn't get you here. So I think that that really highlighted a lot of that skill for me. So not only do I know how to do the job and I know the business and I know how to get things done, I also know when someone either can't rise to the occasion or that something is just better for them elsewhere, and I help them in that manner.
And you know what? Thank you for bringing it up that way because during that time when you were, at the NBC, we're going through some turbulent times. We're going through COVID. We got people that are kind of just like, we're shut in every night. We're not doing anything. So, do you feel, Akemi, that this has become like a second nature for you in the sense of, you went to school for it, got it. But then again, the passion and everything clicks in. Did you feel like you were gaining the momentum as that person?
I think so. I feel that way. And in fact, being in this chair lets me know that I did. I
Yeah.
really looked at like validating people in terms of, look, I'm human. And I've been in newsrooms and I've been around people who were told not to feel. And here I am coming in as I'm gonna say elder millennial, because it's like when you say like the different generations, like Generation X and Z and all that. But I look at that and saying, we kind of came in questioning. Okay, we're going to do this thing, but why should we do this thing? And so the pandemic kind of became the wild, wild west. We're shut in. We can't do things.
Right.
We're wearing a mask. And then it's like, you know what? Yes, we were taught to put your head down and get the work done. I'm actually going to say, you know what? You're having a rough day. Go home. I'm going to figure it out. And it's not that the work that need to get done, but I know that person is going to remember that interaction. They may not remember me saying, "Hey, go home today," but they're going to remember, you know what, she actually paid attention and she actually
It's
cared about that. And so that's where I come in, where look, the business, and this business is changing every day as
oh,
anybody who reads the trades. And that's where I come in with that human approach to say, I need to be transparent and be open with you all. And I do think that people respect that because it's like, I will need to let you know, here's what's going on within the realm. I can share it. But now
sure.
more than ever, we're leading newsrooms with um, completely different expectations from a generation. For the generations of the boomers who are starting to retire, they have a different work expectations from Generation X, millennials, and then Generation Z that's coming into the workforce. And you have to manage across those generations while still saying the work has to get done and still laying out the same expectations. And so, how do you bring groups of people together? And that's where I come in to say, all right, I know how to meet people where they are, but I still am holding people accountable and saying this is what has to get done. So that's where I really think I is a big challenge for newsroom leaders now, but also really an opportunity because now it's all changing, and now here's how we can come together.
This news, the way it's presented now. Now, I have two children in their late 30s, and
Hmm.
they'll tell me, "Dad, you're still watching the news?" Yeah. I go, I'm still watching the news. This, what you just said, is the approach and the mindset of nowadays. You really have, this is not, you can't start the year one way and finish it the same way, right? You have to be innovative every day. I mean, we need to make these changes.
Yeah, so I would counter to say that you're watching the news by turning on a television set, or in this case, you got your flat screen, and
Sure.
you may get it through a cable box. But I will even tell your children, they're getting it on their phone. They're following different things. So they heard the same headlines you did. They just happened to scroll and they may have laughed in the middle of it, but they probably saw the same headlines. John Stewart had something that actually my previous boss had shared with us once that was saying that people are consuming, the consumption for knowledge and news has not changed. It's just fragmented. So your children may actually need Wi-Fi to watch their news, and you may watch it on cable, and then somebody still may have the bunny ears or that box that digitizes you get all the free channels, right? And then I'm literally streaming it on my phone. It's the same viewership and the same consumption, excuse me, same consumption, different platforms. And so then I may have four different ways that I'm trying to then judge the analytics versus in the good old days of TV when Walter Cronkite came on TV at 6 p.m. and said, "Hey, this is what you need to know." People are telling us what they want to know, and we're providing it across multiple platforms. That's why that's in my title, because I'm managing not just one channel. I'm technically managing my WGN 9 linear. I'm managing the WGN Plus app, which is our other stream. That stream is also available on WGN, our news app, and people are getting it. Or then like the YouTube, we even put our content on YouTube for people to consume, and of course Facebook and Instagram. So I have to manage all these things and look at the fact
Multi-platform.
multi-platform.
Yep.
Because your kids are just getting it a different way. Their kids will get it in a different way, but they still want to be informed. And that's what I tell people about journalism and their roles. We still need good producers. We still need the people to deliver that information. We just want to educate people in media literacy. You got to know where you're getting your information from because anybody can say, breaking news, this thing is happening. But do they know what they're doing? Have they presented everything and all the facts? Or are they feeding this one thing? And that's where media literacy comes in, which is genuinely just discernment. Okay, this is an interesting video. Did they give me everything? And that's why I'm telling my journalists now, you got to be there because people need to know that we're the people to do it. We are the ones that vetted everything and fact checked it all and presented it to you.
The delivery and the approach, Akemi, is still very, very important. If we
Yes,
put
yes.
if we put a percentage on it. Yep.
Absolutely, absolutely. Like, in fact, more people are now getting, and actually, Medill just did this study at the end of last year, like maybe Q3, Q4, and more people are getting it on their phones. And whether it's a stream, and I know people
Sure.
they'll watch 10 minutes of content. Say I have one of my reporters, you know what, I'll do Ben Bradley. He's really good about multi-platform, right? And he'll post some of his investigations, and then he'll also just say, let me talk to you about this investigation. And he'll just start and he will vet everything. And I'll get people, Chris Kindle Market was a good one. Whenever they were talking about the Chris Kindle Market, he's like, oh my gosh, this thing has like hundreds of thousands of views. I said, exactly. And now, if people are hungry for more of that, they're going to go to WGNTV.com. They're going to follow you. They're going to want that. And so they're starting to understand now it's all connected. It's just how they're getting it. And it's about our awareness. So I want people to know that my WGN journalists are top tier and you can trust us to come and get the information.
And again, well put by you, because again, here the Chris Kingle market's getting 100 and some views, 1,000 views, and then all of a sudden you could have a story that you think is going to get 112,000 views, and it's getting 20, and you're like, wait a minute, what are we doing wrong here while we doing it? I'm going to throw a date at you.
Okay.
And see how you feel about it, because it was an important date in your life. August 12th, 2025, WGN today announced the appointment of a lady named Akemi Harrison, Director of News and Multi-Platform. What goes through your mind about that day?
Man, so I'm someone rooted in my faith, and it was just like, wow, it all worked out for this moment, you know? Like I said, I love my NBC family, will still love my NBC time, right? But it prepared me for this. I felt prepared, I felt ready, I felt excited. And that goes to that overwhelming thing I mentioned earlier, like, oh, people see my name now and I'm getting all this, attention, and the LinkedIn is saying my name is being searched more, or, and so that I was like, whoa, okay, it's just, little old me over here having my fun, right? I am just fortunate and blessed. So that's why I said I rooted in my faith. I said, okay, I was all right, God, I'm not sure exactly where we're going next, but I'm ready. And when the headline came out, I was like, all right, here we are, let's go.
Exactly. I got to tell you, I don't know if you knew this, but you do know this. You had kind of an unfair advantage, because when you were that girl growing up in Mississippi, you did watch WGN.
I did. I watched, and it's so funny now, like, seeing, when Bob Jordan comes by your office and is
Oh,
like, I've been wanting to meet you. I'm like, me? You want to be me,
isn't that
right?
great?
And even when I was at NBC and, when Renee came by and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't, it's just, and then, doting on you. When Jared Payton came by my office here, and he says, my mom wanted me to tell you, like, your mom wanted you to, like, are you kidding me? Like, so it's surreal and amazing. And yeah, I can't think, because I know that people support me that I don't even know, or people, who want to get to know me and they come and meet me and they're like, oh my gosh, this is who you are. It's so wonderful, John. Like, it just
What a
validates.
feeling, right? What a
Yeah.
feeling. Again, you brought up three people that I kind of intertwined with. Of course, I had the chance. He came on this program too, my little program, Robert Jordan. What a great guy, a classic. He made me feel like I was Robert Jordan and he was John Conenna. Just a great. And then Renee Ferguson, a lady that you might have known from Channel 5, Regina
Yeah.
Waldrop, who I interviewed. Regina, great.
Love me some Regina. Yeah. She's
Yeah, she's
amazing.
something
We've
else.
worked on
Love,
many projects.
love her and her turtles. And then,
Yes, 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 her turtles.
of course, you bring up the legendary Renee Ferguson,
Yes,
who
for Renee.
unbelievable. I mean, what a mentor to so many people. And we'll throw Jared in. He's got his own style, even though he's the
Yeah.
son of the great Walter Payton, right?
I know, and that's what his mom. But like, going back to Renee, so Renee had come by the station when I was at NBC, and we were doing the 75th anniversary, and so we had tasked one of our producers, Bridget, to put things together. And so when she came by, and when she saw me, and she's looking at me, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, a woman who looks like me in your position." And when I tell you, my heart is just still full from that interaction, and I remember, knowing, hearing that she was when I was talking with Marion Brooks and other people, and Leanne Trotter, about like, hey, here's what's going on. It was my job, because I'd only interacted with her that one time, to make sure they had the time with her. And
Incredible.
incredible woman, and reached so many people. And if it wasn't for people like her, I wouldn't be where I am.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, you've done an incredible job. I want to bring up a couple things about you. You've won some awards.
Yeah.
And of course, Emmy Awards, not just an award where we're going to Walmart and buying you a trophy here. The your Emmy on the Lost Story of Emmett Till, the series,
Yes.
and I think the other one, the National Emmy nomination for this Chero, the Migrant Journey in Chicago.
Yes, just say zero. So those were things I'm very proud of because speaking of like changes in the industry, at one point, 30 years ago, we would have had a team of journalists putting together these documentaries in unlimited resources, right? And this was a small team of people for Emmett Till. So Marion Brooks had the idea, and that was something that as before I even got here that they were talking about. And so me being able to be a part of that team of journalists was just, phenomenal. And it was also something I'm passionate about, being from Mississippi, right? And then that's something I knew about. And so to hear that people didn't know about him until I was surprised. So that was, something near and dear to me. And of course, I'm trying to think, I don't want to miss names, but Lisa Baldi, who's, the VP of digital media over at NBC, DS Shin. We had so many people working on that one. And of course, Desde Cero, our first bilingual documentary there. But Sandra Torres, gosh, I'm going to miss names and I don't mean to, but just
Okay, she
knowing
doesn't
all,
mean
I
it.
know I don't want to miss names, but that was the one that
Yes.
received the national, the regional, and then the national award. And again, I'm so thankful to that team because again, it came from stories that people were passionate about, right? And they're passionate and they're like, we want to do this. And that's where it starts. When you can have a keen for when people are passionate, you're going to get really good content and really good storytelling.
You know, especially the Till series, which I'm glad is still alive in the minds of all of us,
Yeah.
especially in this world that we live in. We should be reminded of the
Yeah.
Emmett Till series, that story because it was a tragic story which should have never
Should have never
happened.
happened. And
Yeah.
if you think about it too, that's exactly what made me Teal. So when we were awarded for our work for the regional win because it was a three-part series, so we were awarded, I said it, I said, we did this for Mamie Till. That's exactly why she had her son photographed that way. She wanted people to see the race hate and what it can do. So yeah, that was beautiful. So I'm very thankful. And so the team here, when I got here, they're like, "Oh, we saw the work that you're doing." So I'm already talking to some of my good storytellers about things because there's so many good stories. And in fact, we have one called "Who Killed Jennifer" that's streaming now on WGN Plus. So for those who are watching, it's still out there. Check us out because I'm sure they'll be watching this over time. But this is just the kind of storytelling that some of these journalists in Chicago are doing. Really, all of them, but these types of films. It is just such good work, and I know that's what people want. So we're doing that work. So go and check it out. We're doing that work.
Thank you, yeah, for reminding our audience that's going to see this about what we just talked about.
Yeah.
When I reached out to you in February, not that I want to get on this or just maybe a short thing, it was a tough time at WGN. We went through like letting go of some great journalists, eight,
Mhm.
nine journalists. How was it for you when you knew that this could be an issue, or could it be, was it a very stressful time? Because when I
Oh,
called you, I mean,
100%. And that's
yeah,
why I wanted to thank you for the grace because the only thing that I thought about were the people, like I told you. So it put me in a I'm not gonna lie, it put me in a bad place. And any leader who is okay with that really should check themselves at the door. And the reason why I say that because it put me in such a dark space, but I kept again, I'm a person leaning on my faith, and I just was like, God, I don't know how you're going to get me through this, but I know you are because you just tell me what I need to do to make sure my team is okay. So it's all about the team. And also what I can do after I have to make have such difficult conversations and such. So like I said, the business is changing. ABC has announced layoffs. CBS has announced layoffs. CBS Radio, okay? These
yes,
things that are happening is not exclusive to WGN. But
sure.
I knew when and I didn't know coming in that this was to happen, but I also know that the industry is changing. So I'm fortunate to say that I believe I still have some really good relationships with those who are no longer part of the WGN station, right? But in my heart of hearts, I feel that they are. And the conversations I can have been good, but my biggest focus now has been how I can get the team to move forward. So I've allowed them to feel, I think the next day I got in front of everyone and said, here's what we got, here's what's going on. And I've just been communicating since and being nimble and open. So I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about it. But it was hard. It was very hard, and I knew honestly by like mid-December on, I was down. But look, we got it done, and I wanted to make sure I treated everybody with dignity, and I did.
You know what, Kemi? And it takes a personality in yours because within 24 hours, that show had to go on again at WGN without those great reporters. And of
Yep.
course, like you said, the way this world evolves, every day we are changing. And the way it's presented now, the news, you've proven that in this interview today of how we have to keep up with the change. But again, it's great to hear that, you still are involved with some of the greatest journalists. I mean, that were on WGN, and hopefully they're doing well somewhere else these days. All right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you, we got to get to know you a little bit better. Your time has been very valuable. I got 5 questions for you, and then I
Okay.
got to say something about you that was said about you, and then I'm
Oh,
going to let
okay.
you go. Okay.
Okay.
And then, okay. So my first question is, you brought it up a couple times, but I already had the question. Let's say besides mom and dad, a college professor or whatever, who are maybe 2 or 3 mentors? Give me 1 or 2 quick that you still think about when you're driving home or when you go through a good day or a bad day. Who are those early mentors that said, "Man, I thank them for Akemi Harrison
Oh
being
gosh. All right. So I'm gonna shout out the guy who gave me a chance on radio, Percy Davis. Bless him, but he's the program director at WOAD. And look, I'm so bad at answering the phone. So Percy, if you're watching this, I adore you. Forgive me, but he is someone who gave me that shot of that on-air feel. So I'm
Yep.
thankful for him. So Percy Davis. I know I already mentioned Anzio, but I want to also mention Paula Madison. She was a longtime news director within NBC, and even now, like checks in and reaches out. And I've got several friends, so they'll know who they are. But there's a group chat from a leadership cohort I did with NABJ. And so I have to shout out my They Not Like Us. There was a song a couple years ago, and so we played on it in 2024. But if it wasn't for my friends within that group, plus Travis Sadie White and Brevette Cree and Valerie Butler Guyton, those are some more of my leadership friends. I couldn't do it. So I got to shout all of them out, but those are the ones that I really think about.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
You covered it well.
Yeah.
Okay. What's a movie that Akemi Harrison can watch about 200 times? Like, say she had nothing to do after this interview with me, and put on a television or put on a whatever, however we watch a movie nowadays, Netflix, whatever, watch it 200 times and not get bored. Give me 1 or 2.
Man, I'm gonna say this is ridiculous, but The Wiz. I love The Wiz. It's one
Okay.
of my favorites. In fact, I had it on last night because it's on Netflix right now. I was like, oh, I got to turn it on. I'll watch it no matter when it's playing. And then The Princess Bride. Oh, I
Okay.
love that movie. There's so
Is
many good lines.
the with Stephanie Mills?
So The Wiz, so Stephanie Mills was on Broadway.
Oh
This
my
is
God.
the movie. So you're right about that. And honestly, again, no shades Diana Ross, but Stephanie Mills should have been in the movie. She should have been in the movie, but she did a great job on
Mills.
Broadway from all the reviews. And it's near and dear to my heart because my cousin, Kevin Harper, was the executive producer of it. He was the brainchild behind The Wiz. And he actually used to work at WPIX, which is a next star station. So
Yeah.
we used to work there years ago. But yeah, The Wiz is something. And then, of course, The Princess Bride. I probably go and tell people my name is Ego Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Like I have so many one-liners out of that movie that I'll say.
Great. That's great. Okay. If you
Yeah.
had, I know the answer, but we're going to have to change it.
Okay.
If you had to interview somebody, if you had to interview somebody, and I know you want to interview me,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
but who would be besides me that you want to have that one chance before it's all said and done?
Oh gosh. No,
One or
honestly,
two, 1 or 2.
one or two. I'm actually gonna go with Dolly Parton.
Okay. Wow, that's a
Dolly Parton.
shocker.
I know she is a saint in my opinion. And the reason why I think she's a saint is because she knows she has poured into so many people you have no idea about. And I want to know what drove her because she was someone who just, I mean, besides her talent of songwriting and singing and performing and acting, right? When I hear about the ways that people are just like, yeah, she did this for me and that for me, I'd love to just kind of pick her brain because she is someone, who was a devoted wife, right? Like she's devoted,
Yeah.
but then she's this presence and she poured into people. So Dolly Parton is one. And I know that I had mentioned Oprah just as someone who I saw who got me here. But I'm trying to think of someone else who, because there's so many people.
I imagine.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Honestly, hmm, I have to think about my second person because my other one was going to be Oprah, but I want to give you somebody different because there's so many people I like to pick their brains. Maybe
Right?
I'll go Gail King just because, why not, right? Like she's going part-time. I want to know what does part-time look like? So maybe we'll go Gail.
Okay, okay, I'll take that one. All right. What's the favorite song? You could give me one or two when you're having the good or the bad day. What's the song when Akemi's in the car or when she's by herself and she wants to hear the song? What is it?
Yeah, you know what? I love me some music. My playlists are cultivated. I mean, I have created experiences on my music app.
I'm
But
thinking you're an R&B gal because I'm an R&B guy.
R&B. So I was gonna say Stevie Wonder, Don't You Worry About a Thing.
Oh, beautiful
Whenever I
song.
need to, and it
Na,
comes on,
na,
and I
na,
want to
na,
listen.
na,
Yeah.
na,
Dun,
na,
dun.
na, na.
Yeah, you see, you already know. So that song comes on and it just puts me in this space because it really, to me, is, as I'm pretty public about, grief and grief as a journey. And that song is something that just puts me in a good mood because I don't have to. One thing about this season that has been tough and in a changing industry that I have devoted my entire career to be a part of is that it's going to work out no matter what it works out for you. And if you keep that mindset and focus on abundance, and when you focus on that abundance, you don't see what you don't have anymore. You see the opportunities of what you can have. And so when I hear that song, it puts me in that space. So that
Don't you
song is
worry.
really good. And then something that I feel like was given to me by my parents last year when I was just like, oh, I need, or in this season of like being uncertain was the Four Tops Reach Out.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah,
be
I'll be
there.
there. Yeah,
Yeah.
to when I think about my parents, and that's I literally will get emotional thinking about that because that just came to me one day, and I listened to it because I was in a sad space, and so talking about when you feel like all hope is gone, darling, reach out, and I was just like, oh, because I miss them, but I don't miss them in the sense of them physically being here anymore. I because I feel them in my, I just know they're with
Sure.
me. Yeah, so
Beautiful
that's
songs.
mine.
Beautiful,
Yeah,
beautiful song. Thank you. Yeah. So, hey, you got the R&B guy going again.
you're gonna listen to it now.
For sure. All
Yeah.
right. I'm going to ask you a last question, then I'm going to say something about what somebody said about you.
Okay.
You went through this whole process
Mhm.
as a young girl, the gospel thing, the radio, the progression to the television. You've been all over NBC, now here with this great station, WGN, Chicago's very own, which I've followed since the late 1960s. I grew up watching a guy that's probably got pictures in that studio, Jack Taylor.
Yes.
Yeah, a
You should
legendary
like
guy,
we have the signage everywhere. Like, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
legendary guy.
Legacy.
If Akemi Harrison had to do this all over again, is
Mhm.
she doing it again? The same
Yeah,
way?
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
The reason being, because again, there'll be times when you bump your head or you just every single lesson got me ready for this moment. And the other thing that I learned through this particular process is obstacles are the path. And I know there's a book called Obstacles Are the Path that I hadn't heard about it, but every particular obstacle was meant for me to get better, to get me ready for the next thing. And so when I was in that moment of, do I really have to go through with all these things? And oh, this is hard. And lightweight depressed, to be honest, to be like, because knowing what was coming I realized like you have to go through the obstacle because it will get you through and it just has been if I didn't have any of the other lessons, the hard conversations, the tears, all the things that I've had to go through in my career, I wouldn't be where I am. And it's just made me double down on how you can still treat people right. You can still be a good person. You can still do the work and still get the respect. You don't have to be a certain way. So if anything, yeah, I would do every single thing over and bump my head the same way I did because I know where I'm at today. So yeah.
It shows the passion right there, what you said.
Oh,
All
thank you.
right. I'm going to read something that somebody said about you, and it's spot
Okay.
on from this interview and just then.
Okay.
As media consumption continues to evolve into a multi-platform experience,
Mhm.
we are thrilled to have Akemi Harrison join WGN and the content team. Akemi is a highly accomplished news and media executive who understands the importance of compelling storytelling and engaging audiences across all those platforms. And that comes from the vice president and general manager, Rick Harris of WGN. Akemi, I want to thank you for
Thank
coming on a conversation with John Conenna today. This was a thrill. And I'm telling you, to be the director of news and multi-platform content, it shows. And this is great. I'm honored to have had you on
thank
here today.
you. Thank you for giving me the platform and I just and honestly again being tenacious and having the grace because you knew what I didn't have capacity. So I'm just so happy to have had this conversation with you, John.
Yeah, okay. And listen, if you guys ever take a picture of yourselves at WGN thing, I want one favor from you. Sign it, we'll do it old fashioned, mail it to me, a signed autograph from Akemi, knowing this, this was fantastic. I truly appreciate it.
Mhm. Oh,
This is gonna,
likewise.
this is gonna go out on YouTube and Spotify, probably by Sunday in the coming
Okay.
days, so we can go back to see this interview with Akemi and what she's doing for Channel 9 and WGN here in Chicago and how this all started. Just a great interview with a great lady.
Thank you so much, John. And I'll be sharing it on my platforms.
You got it. All right, we'll get this out to you. Thank you so much and
Thank
good day,
you.
everyone. Good
Oh.
day.